Anyway, thanks you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Yes, last session of the day. We're excited about that. And hopefully you're excited about learning a couple things from what we're doing here. There you go. That's a little bit prettier background. And you don't have to stare at people's faces and comments online. All right. Again, Spence Kohler. I've been with Utah State now for, oh man, combined about a decade, I guess. I was, and I count my student years of working on campus in that. So yes, I am an Aggie. I graduated from Utah State. I won't tell you how long ago, because that was a while ago. So anyway, I'm excited to be here, and hopefully you guys get a little bit of entertainment, a little bit of fun, and also learn some practical application skills, not only for yourself, but to eventually take out to other people, to be able to help you be able to help others. Okay, this is going to be huge. Now, I will set this up just a little bit differently, because having taught one, you know, I can teach it in reverse order even. It's actually kind of fun. It's like saying the ABCs backwards and seeing how many people can follow, okay? Now, one of the things that we're going to talk about is ACT. You guys have probably heard this before. Acceptance and what? Commitment, therapy, okay? All right, ACT. That's what ACT stands for. So if you want to look up more information about these concepts, YouTube it, okay? Jump on YouTube, look it up, ACT, acceptance, commitment therapy, good stuff to be had by all, okay? So one of the first things I want to point out to each of you, first and foremost, is that there was obviously some music playing, and some of you made comments about it. Tell me what the music did for your mood when you came in here. It lifted? Okay, lifted. Anybody else? Woke up, more energy? Okay, good. What else? Made you happy? Good. All right. Really? Why? Okay. Made you look forward to the class. Maybe this is going to be something a little bit different. It was going to be an experience. We're setting up the experience already. Okay. All right. Good. Good. Well, I will tell you one thing. I am a huge Disney fan, as many of you know. And one of the interesting things is that Walt Disney captured music very, very, very conscientiously. Okay. And in doing so, there's a lot of music that helped the emotion along in not only theme parks, but movies and experiences that he would create. Okay. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is I'm trying to create an experience. So hopefully, yeah, being the last class of the day, nap time for most of us, right? Yeah. Okay. We're ready to go to sleep. And so I want to keep your attention. I want to keep you on the line here while we're going. And in order to set the stage for that, I used music to help the mood. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit more about why this is so significant a little bit later on. But we're going to dive into some very practical application skills that you can take with you in order to help you be the best you possible. So let's talk about this. Emotional resilience. What is it? What does it mean to you? What have you come to understand that emotional resilience is? It's a buzzword that we throw around. A lot of people have a lot of definitions about it. What is it? What is it to you guys? And by the way, just so you know, if you are concerned that I repeat every word that you say, it is because we have online folks that need to hear you. Okay? Ready, set, go! Yes.
Something about not getting pushed around by your emotions.
Okay.
Them in a way that you understand how to use them.
Okay. So not being pushed around by emotions, but taking emotional control of those emotions so that you're not like tossed with the waves back and forth, so to speak. Okay, so you're in control of those emotions. You harness those emotions so that then you can take them out. You can make them work for you rather than beating against you. Good. I like that. What else?
Not staying knocked down.
Not staying knocked down. Because I get up again?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. No. Okay, we're getting back to that music component there. Okay, yeah. Not getting emotionally knocked down day in and day out. Right. Good. Done it.
I think
for me when I think about it, that when the high emotions kind of hijack
Okay.
your thinking and day or whatever, that being able to then bring them back to a calm kind of baseline.
Okay.
Some of the other thoughts, but for me, it's like a very proactive.
Good.
It's like sometimes you can ride with those high emotions, but then being able to pull it back.
So you don't want to be hijacked by those. You want to be able to have control of those. You want to be able to make sure that you have what you need in order to keep those emotions where they need to be. So,
Yeah, for me, like, I'm also learning that there's value in both extremes though, too.
okay.
That sometimes,
Good.
like, when you do have those high extreme emotions,
Mhm.
like some of the things that I have thought in the past and that I've heard in the room is take control of them, own them, like whip them into shape, like maybe they're not.
You teach those emotions who's boss.
But sometimes they're real, and sometimes just jumping into it and being like, yep,
Yeah.
now's the time to experience this and to, ride that wave, even if it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, not like drowning in it.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, where's that point where it's like, okay, so now I can own that, I
Okay.
lived it, but now where's my calm state that I can come back?
So you're talking about balance. Is what we're talking about. We're having a balance between giving yourself space for those emotions, right? So that you can deal with them. You can have your moment, you can have your fall apart, you can have your breakdown, you can have your emotional vomit. And we'll talk more about what that is. Okay. But yet you can still bring it back to where you need to be in order to function. Right? Okay. Is that good synopsis of stuff? Good. I love the Zoom comments. Bring it on.
Space to emotion lets them exist and be soothed without them exploding.
Okay. Exist and soothed without exploding. Good. I like that. Good. Any others? Any other thoughts about this emotional resilience? When you have this long of a pause, that means everybody agrees that enough has been said. Okay, good. So yeah, you're all right. Emotional resilience is that and so much more. And there's so many different nuances that go into what we're talking about emotional resilience here. Okay. And that's what I want you to be able to take away from this particular discussion is being able to use tools so that you are not only in control, but that you can give yourself space and time for what you need, but also be able to provide that for others. Okay. Because I'm pretty sure we can all agree that we're all here, right? Road rage is up. All right. We have a lot of violent situations in society that the pressure gauge is at the top, right? And because of that, we need some type of solution. We need something in order to help us be better or have more capacity, more room, more space inside of who we are in order to make things appear to be different. Okay. So, emotional vomit is one of the things that I want to touch on now. This is my own term. I coined it. It's not publicized in any book, so you're more than welcome to use it at any time. Essentially, what happens with somebody who is experiencing emotional vomit is that they have taken everything that they're dealing with, okay? And I'll give you examples from my own life, okay? Right now, I can tell you I have a friend who has colon cancer that's been fighting for more than 7 years for her life. Her kids just barely came home from both of their missions, 2 of them, because she got told by the doctor, there's nothing more we can do, okay? Now, this week we hear she's been cured. I'm not exactly sure how that worked in the medical community, but we'll take it for the time being and hope it lasts, okay? I have another friend who is going through brain surgery today, her 3rd one in this month, okay? I have a friend that just got diagnosed with breast cancer and is going through the process of being able to grasp hold of what's going on happening in that scenario right there, okay? There was a guy in our neighborhood who just barely got arrested for sexual relations with a minor. Okay. My kids went over to his house to play. Okay. We interacted, our families, quite often together. Okay. Now, with all this, and the reason why I tell you this is not just a pity party for Spence, but it's to let you know that I have somewhat of an idea of what's going on in the world today. not to mention the wars, not to mention the school shootings, not to mention all of the things that are weighing on our minds on a day in and day basis, okay? And if we're not careful, we can begin to stuff all of these down as far as we possibly can, right? Stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff. And that stuff, that emotionally charged stuff, begins to become like lava, okay? And we could go through and we can talk about a whole host of different health problems, okay? Talk about ulcers, talk about acid reflux disease, talk about eating problems and issues because you don't ever feel hungry, you're just constantly sick, okay? There's all those different things that are piled up on there, okay? But what happens is when we stuff so much, so long, it gets so heated and it becomes so volatile. And there's a very short fuse that if something happens, for me, it's if my teenagers come downstairs and look at me cross-eyed in the morning after I tell them, good morning, right? There it happens. The emotional vomit just boom, 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 boom. Right? And all of a sudden, that emotional vomit gets all over everything and everyone that's associated with the situation. Now, we try really hard not to do that at work, mainly because of the threat of losing our jobs, okay? But at home, that's a little bit different story. It's not quite as, nuanced there. But the point still remains that if we don't do something with those emotions, if we don't deal with those, if we aren't working through those emotions, that's ultimately what's going on. And that's ultimately what's going to happen. Okay. I will even tell you on the news this morning, I'm eating breakfast in my hotel, and here I'm watching two teenagers captured on news media. At the top left-hand corner is, this may be disturbing. And here, two kids are just beating the living tar out of each other. One smashing the other repeatedly into the pavement. That child is in the hospital now in critical condition. All because emotional vomit is a real thing and it happens and it's getting worse, not better. Okay? So let's try to see if we can be part of the problem. One of the first tools that we're going to talk about, one of the first things we're going to pull out here is the power of observation. Now, when we talk about observation, keep in mind that those individuals that have personality disorders cannot conceptually do this, okay? First of all, if they're narcissistic, they do not understand these tools, rules, or have an ability to do this. Personality disorders like obsessive compulsive personality disorder, disorders like histrionic, bipolar, a lot of these others, it's really hard to do. So barring a lot of these different things and barring a lot of clinical work, most of us from a general standpoint can conceptually understand these bits and pieces that we're going to talk about today. So first of all, we're going to go back to Spence right here, okay? And Spence is troubled. And I told you, I listed off all the different things that are going on, that are happening in my life. Picture yourself as if you were here, okay? Think about all the different things that you're going through. Think about the problems at home. Think about the problems with your kids. Think about the problems with your partner. Think about the problems that you're having in so many different parts or aspect of your life and be here, okay? Once you're there in that frame of mind, we want to be able to take a step back. We want to use something called observation. And there's a power of observation, which is the first step here, that we need to pull out. We're going to talk about observation. We're going to talk about awareness. And most people would sit back and say, well, Spence, those are pretty much the same thing, right? I mean, there's really not too big of a difference between the two. That's true, and we'll talk about the likenesses, but there are some differences that we have to work with, and it's very key to make sure that we understand there is a difference. So, first of all, observation. What do you guys think of when you think of observation and the power of being able to observe yourself? What does that mean? What does that look like to you?
Having no bias.
Having no bias, okay? Hard to do, isn't it? Yeah. Having no bias, it's a hard thing to do. Good. What else? Go ahead. Knowing when you're getting to that level, when all of a sudden the vomit is about ready to come out, right? Okay.
My son is very esoteric, extremely intelligent, he'll go off on things that I'm just like, can't, I'm at this point, I'm like, I can't focus on the whole world right now.
Right?
I can't. He's
When
like, okay.
wouldn't it be nice to go, wait, put a pin in it. Bye. I'm done. I'll be over here. Maybe we'll get to it later. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's approaching that point where you know. And here's the interesting thing. Let's pull out, let's extrapolate some of that observation. When you feel like you're getting to that point, where do you feel it in your body? Okay. Okay. So you sweat from your eyes, right? Yeah. A lot of us sweat from our eyes. Okay. All right. Good. All right. When anybody else gets to that point, where do you feel it in your body? Your shoulders? Tension right there. Melissa's got tension in the shoulders. Yeah, I do too. My massage therapist loves to see me. Oh, these knots are so big. I'm like, yeah, it's your paycheck. It gets big. Right? Okay. Where else? Where else do you feel it in your body? Chest. Yeah, that's me too. I feel it in my chest. There's something right there that burns almost. You know, especially when my teenager's ready to pick a fight. I'm like, oh, right there. Yeah. Okay. Anyplace else? Okay. Little twitch. Yeah. Yeah. Very stressed. There's a little twitch there. Okay, good. Observation. These are the things that we need to be observing from ourselves to help us know where we need to be or where we are, so that we can then advocate for this person, right? We can take a step back and we can say, okay, insurmountable odds, right? There's this, everything that's piled up here. No wonder, Spence, why you're struggling. No wonder why you're having a hard time. No wonder why there's no emotional room or space for much else or anyone else, right? A very interesting question was asked in the last class. What about these kids that are coming into college right now that are struggling to be connected, which is kind of something they want, even though they're the disconnected generation? You know, how does that play out? And really, it comes down to the fact that this generation, and this is my own personal philosophy, I don't have peer-reviewed journal articles to back this up, but this is my philosophy. This generation has the highest level of anxiety, depression, stress than we have ever had. And I would even compare that to the war generations, so on and so forth. The war on terror lasted longer than any other war we've ever had in our nation's history. Okay, you look that up on Google, you scroll down and all of a sudden you're scrolling, and you still haven't reached the bottom of how long the war on terror took. Okay, not to mention the war that we face against social media and the connectivity that creates, which is not only good, but we didn't realize when we created that there's a lot more baggage that comes along with it, right? And what that means for us and how we can conceptually go through and understand all that's going on. So yeah, coming and looking at this physically and stuff. Okay, where do we feel that in our body? Where are the telltale signs? Okay, I remember early on as I was learning this concept, I learned where I felt things in my body, and observing that, I knew. In fact, I remember I was tromping up the stairs. There was some big thing. Some kid had set fire to something. I can't remember what it was. Okay, and I felt it welling up inside of me, and I knew there was going to be a conversation happening really quickly. One of the things that I use, and this is something that you guys can use at home, I get these 8-ounce bottles of water, right? Those little dinky ones that they hand you out for free, and you go, thanks, right? Okay. But they're just the perfect size to fit right in your hand. And you hold that ice, okay? And that sends a signal up your nervous system to your brain, which demands to be heard. And when you're dysregulated, okay, when you got that fight or flight going on and you're either going to, smash your teenager or worse, okay, that sends a signal to bring you back down to help you regulate. Okay. And there's a bunch of different other tools that you can use too, to help yourself regulate. Put a pin in it, walk away, whatever the case might be, whatever you need to do. But the overarching power here that we need to have is the ability to observe what's going on and what's happening, and be able to sprinkle a little grace and a little kindness and a little love and a little understanding on us, because we're going through it, right? And when we take that step back and we observe different things, we observe what's going on and happening. We observe all the different nuances that are going on and taking place. And we recognize and realize the stories that we're telling ourselves in order to get there. And we'll talk more about that because that's step number 3, okay? So with all that observation that we go through and we do, we have that little friend or buddy of ours called awareness. What is awareness in regards to observation? How do they work together? How do they work differently?
For example, if you're stressed
Mm-hmm.
and you're starting to get an adrenaline rush or whatever, because
Yep. You're being
excited,
dysregulated.
then you, in a sense, are aware
Yep.
that you're stressed.
Yeah.
And if you're in a situation with somebody, it might actually help you understand that you're probably not where you want to be at this moment,
Mm-hmm.
because you're aware of the fact that you're either stressing out or about to react wrongly to what's going on.
Right. So as you're building up that observation, all of a sudden the awareness is the thing that kicks in that says, oh, wait a minute. Something needs to change. I shouldn't be in this situation. I need to do something differently. I need to go a different direction or head a different way in order to make those changes. Yeah. Yeah. The awareness is what you do with that observation. You extrapolate that observation out and you do something with it. And you decide what it is you're going to do. Okay. And this is something that needs to be practiced on a regular basis in order to make it work for you. No matter what it is, no matter if you use ice, no matter if you do bilateral stimulation, right? No matter if you do breathing exercises, no matter if you put a pin in it and then come back to it later, okay? Whatever that might be, that awareness is what you do based upon the observation that you have made, okay? Now, what's one of the biggest things that gets in the way of this? Why don't we all do it? Why aren't we all professionals at this? Easy enough, right? Spence, you've explained it. Seems to make sense. There's some logic there. But what happens?
My brain was thinking the opposite thing. I'm like, oh, so awareness is that lack of a thing when you know that you're in a situation and you're like, why do I keep doing the same thing? And like, you never actually change your habits.
Right.
So. Like,
So
you're
isn't that
without the awareness.
isn't that the definition of insanity? Yeah, and yet we all do it. We do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. Yeah, right? Yeah. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was gonna say your parasympathetic nervous system takes over.
Oh, yes. Yep.
And so your reasoning side.
Yep.
shut down.
The reasoning side totally gets shut down and you just stop thinking, right? So when we're talking about the different parts of the nervous system and we're talking about the brain, a little pea-sized part of your brain in here called the amygdala, right? Okay, is in charge of that fight or flight response. Now, when that is triggered with inside of your brain, what can't operate? Right, and I've got the perfect spot. See this right here? The frontal lobe. It's not hidden very well. Yeah, the decision-making factory of our brains cannot operate. They cannot operate together unless we do something in order to stop it or change it or move it or shift it. That's why the ice is really good, okay? If you can't grab a bottle of ice, grab ice water, okay? Very good. I'm more regulated. Thank you. Okay, ice water is a great thing. Right? Go for it.
So like, back to your teenage child example.
Yes.
You can see this happening in them.
Uh-huh.
Is it more triggering or is it helpful if like you have a little cue that it's like, here's a frozen bottle, please hold it, or ice water, please,
I-
we're just gonna stop the conversation
So the question is, what do you do with the teenagers? And I will tell, I've got a great story for it too. What do you do with those teenagers when they're dysregulated and you're trying to regulate them with whatever you have on hand? Now, I will tell you at my home, we have in the freezer, one of those small water bottles with a child's initial on each one. There's also one for my wife. There's one for me. Okay. All right. One for each hand. We'll hold on and we'll make it work. Yeah. Okay. So I will tell you, when we first started teaching our kids this, I can't tell you how many times I was like, here, water bottle. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times that sucker was chucked at me. Okay. There is a dent still in the wall that I haven't fixed yet from a water bottle. Okay. Which is what you have to do, because sometimes when you intervene, even when we intervene with ourselves, don't do that to me. Don't tell me what to do.
Someone else's suggestion.
Yeah, right. You're like, what do you think? You're better than me? Shh, dude, no. Yeah, that's hard, right? That's hard to be able to get other people to utilize the tools in order to help them. So sometimes you choose safer tools like breathing techniques. Those don't hurt. They can breathe all over me all they want, and it doesn't hurt as bad as a frozen water bottle. And that's what I think really makes the huge difference, is finding something that works best for you or for that other person. Obviously, when you guys go back to your offices, I mean, maybe some of you will, grab a whole bunch of bottles and put them in your freezer and keep them there. I remember this therapist we went to once. My wife hated him. She's sitting there, crying her eyes out, telling him, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. This is horrible. And he's like, oh, wait, hold on. I got a solution for it. And he leaves and he goes, get a bottle of ice water. He says, here, hold it. Okay. And it calmed her down and she stopped crying. But then all of a sudden the conversation stopped and nothing was able to come out emotionally. Coincidentally, we never went back to that therapist. Okay. So yeah, sometimes there can be a timing aspect to this as to when you help somebody. Sometimes if they're not if they're not hurting you or anybody else, sometimes you just need to let it go. Get it out. Get it over with. Get it done with. Have it out. Okay. I'll give you an example of this. I had a coworker call me just irate because of something stupid that I said in a meeting that we were in earlier that day. And she called me. She said, look, I want you to know that I am a dedicated employee. I work hard and, I serve our students well. Boom, 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 all these different things. And I just sat there and I listened. And by the time she was calm enough to take a breath, I said, thank you for calling and telling me. Tell me more about what's going on. This seems, and you guys can tell, right? This seems a whole lot bigger than what you're really concerned about. So she goes on to tell me how big of a fear it is for her to lose her job. I don't want to lose my job. And I'm worried because I don't have enough students coming in, that I'm not going to have a job much longer. And I'm worried about that. And I'm not yet ready to retire. And I'm worried about what that looks like. And please don't fire me. I said, okay. Thank you for telling me that. That makes so much more sense. That fits the picture that they were handing to me, right? A whole lot better. And then I said, you know what? I apologize for what I said. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. That was wrong of me to do that. And I will make sure that I try not to do it again. Okay? And we talked a little bit more. We talked a little bit more about her concerns, addressed some specific areas of concern, and we hung up the phone. Next day, I get an email that says, if I didn't already have a therapist, I'd call you. I was like, no, thanks. I can't do double duty at work. I can't do both. But the point is that we have people that need to get stuff out. Sometimes it's through an email and you're like, wow. That's heavy. Sometimes it's over the phone and they're yelling and they're screaming. And sometimes they come into work. Sometimes it's at home. Sometimes it's, might be at church, might be any place. And they just need to get that out. And then once they get that out, and then all of a sudden you start to see them, their body physically kind of comes down off of that high. that's a good time to give them, the bottle of water or provide some type of intervention. But making sure that you have an opportunity to give them that space, that opportunity to get it out and to feel their feels, that's 50% of the problem right there. That's really 50% of what we're dealing with, okay? So we make observations about ourselves. The awareness is what we do in order to help us to be able to make those changes, okay? And then there's the next step that we need to work with, okay? Observation, awareness, and then storytelling. Did you guys know that we all tell stories? We all tell our own stories. We fill our heads with stories. Other people in plant and bed stories. I mean, all of you saw Inception, I'm sure, right? Okay. There is a certain element or power to that where there are some people that gave us a story. In some situations, that story was, you're good enough. You're great. You're wonderful. You're awesome. You can accomplish things. You can do things. However, as kids, we absorb a whole lot easier. I'm a piece of crap. I don't do enough. My A- wasn't good enough for my mom or dad, right? I could never clean the house good enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to go to school. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to do. I'm not going to drive on the freeway because it's too scary, right? This is one of the things that are the generation that's coming into school. And if you haven't seen the statistical numbers, this is what's going on with since 2022, where we're starting to see this decline, severe decline in students going to school. They are frankly scared half to death. I know, because I've got one out in college and the other one, heck no, Dad, there's nothing you can do. I'm like, buy you a car, buy you, a trip to Hawaii. What do you want? Go to school. No, I'm not doing, I can't. Too scared, too afraid. I can't do it. I can't bring myself to do it. Okay. So we're dealing and we're battling with a constant issue of anxiety, depression, stress, all those different emotions that are bottled up that these kids have a hard time getting rid of. They have a hard time being able to process through some of these things. Okay. Now, I will tell you, there are a lot of coaches out there who say, oh, go run it off, right? Go punch a punching bag, punch it off, right? And exercise does have a place, and it is helpful, and it can do a lot of wonderful things. But one of the problems that we face is this, okay? Problem happens, trauma happens, some issue, okay? We deal with it with the punching bag, right? Okay, then after we feel better, after the punching bag, we go back, reoffend, come back, we're punching the punching bag. And it goes in that cycle, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Because somewhere along in there, we didn't change the story. We didn't change what was going on and happening in our minds to be able to change the story that we tell ourselves. And when we don't change that story, that I'm good enough, that I'm accepted, that I'm loved, that I'm handsome, that I'm beautiful, that I'm bald. Oh, I've accepted that story. Never mind. Okay? Whatever that story is, you have to grasp hold of that and be able to run with the positive sides of those things. To say, yeah, you're stressed. Life is hard. Things are difficult. Some things are falling apart, but it's okay. Okay, we can work through that. We can make a difference. We can change. We can grow. We can improve. Okay, so I'll give you an example of this real quick. Last Father's Day, week before, my wife comes to me and she says, well, honey, we can either have a Sunday meal or it can be a good meal. Which one do you want? And I said, well, I want a good meal. She's like, all right, you're cooking. Okay. So I said, fine, pull out some steaks. We'll have some steaks. That sounds good. I can do that. Get there Sunday. I think I went 3/4 of the day. I mean, we had gotten up, we had gone to church, we had come home. Not one person had said Happy Father's Day to me. I know, pity party for me, right? Thank you. I'm there cooking the steaks and making the meal. My wife is struggling, and I can't remember what she was struggling with at the time because obviously I was struggling. I was in my own world. Yeah, I admit that. Okay. And, so I'm out cooking the steaks at the grill, and my wife's in the bedroom. She's on Candy Crush, hours on end, just trying to cope, right? Just trying to cope with stuff. And my kids are all on their electronic devices on the sofa and different things in the living room and the dining room and things. And it's really something we have done repetitively for years. You come home, you change your clothes, set the table. Nobody was setting the table. So I was left to cook the entire meal by myself, no help whatsoever, set the table while the food was resting, getting ready to be put on, called everybody to dinner, all those different kinds of things. And all of a sudden my wife wishes me a happy Father's Day and my kids go. Have you ever seen teenagers rush to their room and try to color a picture for you? Yeah, you can give me a better story.
Wife starts singing happy birthday to me. And I, the husband, like, oh my goodness. I had helmet.
So your wife was singing happy birthday and it was her birthday?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. It's all downhill from there. Okay. So all of a sudden I'm out here at the grill as I'm fixing food and everything. And I'm thinking, you know what? My wife doesn't love me. My kids could care less. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this. Maybe there's, some other father, some other place having a better Father's Day than I am. And all of a sudden I'm crapping on myself, right? And the story that I'm telling myself is going downhill really, really fast. And you can feel it. All of a sudden, your emotions just start to keep going down, 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 down. You're like, what's the point? Why do I do this? Why do I, wake up every morning? Why do I? Or you shit on yourself, right? Oh, I should have done this, should have done this. I should have been this. I should have done this. I should have been more handsome. I should have lost more weight. I should have kept my hair, whatever. Okay. And the story that I'm telling myself is taking me down a negative road and a negative pathway. And I have a choice. All of a sudden I wake up and go, whoa, wait a minute. Okay. Observation comes. I'm observing that there is a very negative story based upon the circumstances and situations that are happening. My awareness is I've got to make a change. I got to make a difference. And then I switch it up. I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I love cooking because you know why? The food's going to be good. Yep.
This guy talked about, was it authenticity?
Authenticity.
He said the same story.
Uh-huh.
He says, we all tell ourselves stories.
Yep.
Instead of acknowledging what happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is what happened.
Mhm.
This is the story we're telling ourselves in our head,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your story is, they didn't wish me happy Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened. You were upset
Right.
and not appreciated
Yep.
because they didn't wish a happy Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
But you're telling your story of like, I'm not good enough. Or
Right.
what have I done? Or why isn't my family appreciative of other things?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, this is the story that you're telling instead of focusing on the actuality of so what happened.
Right.
You feel hurt
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't mind to tell you. And
Yeah.
I think we all tell ourselves that.
Uh-huh.
But I learned in that conference, I learned that lesson very well because it is true.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of focusing what happened and how do I express myself,
Mm-hmm.
to my significant other or to whomever I feel like hurt me,
Right.
we go on and telling each other a bunch of stories.
Yep.
And then we just go downhill from there.
Yep.
We give ourselves pity.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a pity party. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what I was doing, was having a pity party right then and there. And that's the thing. We all do that, right? We all get in that situation where we go down that road, where we have that pity party and we say to ourselves, we're not good enough. And sometimes those stories, those little increments come back from other people, right? And they resurface and stuff. So all of a sudden here in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of things like, oh yeah, I remember I was not the best reader when I was a little kid, and I had a reading tutor, and the reading tutor sat me down, and she was so frustrated at me one day. She slams the book on the table and she says, you're never going to be good enough and you're not going to be able to amount to anything. I'm so sick and tired of this. And she walked out of the room.
Oh,
Not a real story.
It's a real story. Yeah, real story. And from that moment on, I actually didn't, but I've thought about it. Yeah. So that story was definitely true, but I sat back and I'm like, well, forget you. I'm not going to let you determine me and who I am and what I can and cannot do. So I went on. I went to college. I got an education and I worked my through my associate's degree, my bachelor's degree. And by the time I got my bachelor's degree, I said, maybe that's not good enough. Maybe I need a master's degree because it's not enough to throw it into her face just to get a bachelor's degree. So I did. I went and I looked for master's degrees, and there was all these schools that will remain nameless that think GREs and GMATs are important. And I was like, forget you. I'm going to go find a school that doesn't require a GMAT or a GRE. And so I did, and I got a master's degree, and then I started working on a doctorate degree, and then my youngest came along who has Down syndrome, and I said, I can't do it all. So I have to stop. And so I did. And yes, I would like to take all that back and let her know that, hey, a long time ago, you slammed this book in my face and told me I was never going to amount to anything. And look at what I've accomplished, and look at where I am, and look at what I've done. That story was different. I didn't let that story affect my life negatively. I took it as a challenge, and that challenge helped me grow and progress and stuck with me. Am I mad at her? No. I mean, that was one of the reasons why I kicked my butt in gear. All the long nights, all the papers that I had to write, all the tests I had to take, all the studying that had to be done. Yeah, she was there. She was in my mind that whole entire time. Okay. So we have a bunch of stories based upon situations that we have in our life. The power is to change those stories and use those stories to help us be better, to help us understand ourselves in a new light, in a new way, in a situation that can help us improve and grow and realize that we are good people, that we are loved, that we have charity, that we have the things that we need in order to accomplish all that we need to, okay? In order to make sure that this emotional resilience can help us bounce back. So we've got observation, we've got awareness, we've got the stories that we tell ourselves. All those things are the beginning steps in order to help you become more emotionally resilient. I wish I had time to go through all the rest of the steps, but this is a good beginning. This is a good place for you to be able to start your exploration of yourselves in order to help you become more emotionally resilient. So thanks you guys for being here. I appreciate it. Questions that you guys have for me? Yes. Okay.
I stopped. Telling yourself that negative story,
Mm-hmm.
which will dig up negatives that you've heard your whole life.
Right.
That you can trigger yourself into looking at.
Yes. Okay. So about, a week or so ago, I woke up. It was a Saturday morning. The question for all of you online too, by the way, sorry, I forgot myself for a second, was, is there a trigger or is there a way for us to be able to trigger that kicking us out of the wrong story into the right, essentially? Is that what it was? Okay. So I woke up, I was tired, long night, the night before, something like that. One of my kids woke up and had to help him with something in the middle of the night. So I was really, really tired. And I all of a sudden began to, I will tend to turn to silly songs, but they're silly, depressing songs, like maybe a SpongeBob song that's like, really annoying, or maybe sometimes it's Disney and it's like, yeah, it's a small world after all, it especially is in my case, because I feel really small right about now, and so all of a sudden you begin to recognize that pattern of you observe that all of a sudden, whoa, you're tired, you're going down that slippery slope, and it takes practice to be able to get to that point where you can trigger it. But wherever you feel it in your body or whatever you tend to go towards, like I said, I tend to go towards silly songs that don't make a whole lot of sense. And when that negative talk starts to come in, that's one of the first things for me is when I hear that negative talk, I go, oh, no, stop it, Spence. And then I'm like, okay, we're going to do something different. I'm going to go listen to some music that'll make me happy. I'm going to go sleep. That'll make me happy, especially on a Saturday, right? I will do something to help me get back into that better state of what I need to go and do. And so a lot of it is just practice and building that awareness of, if I'm walking down that road, what does that road look like for me and how can I be different? How can I change? Does that make sense? Is that helpful? Okay, what else? Yes, ma'am. Where can I find some steps? So you can go to YouTube and YouTube ACT, Acceptance and Commitment Therapy. There is a lot of YouTube videos on there, a lot of different steps, a lot of different terminologies that you can learn and grow and understand. So I would look there. That would be probably the first thing. That's also a good place to find tools to help your students. If you're looking for students, I would point you to peer-reviewed journal articles, but students don't care about those and they don't read them. But there's some good YouTube videos out there that you could recommend to them. Anthony.
Someone in the Department of Psychology, there's a brief ACT class. They've got like a
Yep.
$5 one.
Uh-huh.
and
Yep.
They've got a more expensive one, I believe. It's open.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yep. And Haley, who did you say in this last one? Caps was one. And who was the other lady?
Oh, Renee Brown.
Renee Brown. She does podcasts. She's got stuff. Yeah. She's another good one to look at resources. Yes, thank you. Oh, always. We have so much fun. Any questions online, Haley? Okay. All right. Any other questions that you guys have? Good times, good times.